In today's episode, we have a discussion on AI and its impact on post-secondary education. Specifically, should someone stay in school or should they use AI to learn about a particular subject or a career path? We discuss the changing expectations of a post-secondary education, the benefits, and the challenges of the current environment. Finally, we talk about what needs to change for universities, colleges, any post-secondary institutions, especially with AI coming into the workplace. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, brought to you by 0to60.ai, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits of artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye. I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're talking about actually a question that I got from a recent event with students, and where the person said, is it beneficial for me to stay in school, or is it better for me to just learn AI and work in the field? And first of all, how I answered that was very interesting, because I was like, I'm going to pass it on, first of all, to the program administrator. And I want that person to say, to give their answer first. And I just kind of followed that lead, because what could have came out of my mouth was contrary to what the SAPE person did. So I was like, okay, that person's,
You're doing a presentation for a post-secondary and you're saying, no, you're wasting your time and money.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can't do that. But actually, I'd like to know, what do you think right now, from that perspective, if you were asked that question?
Well, I think so. I don't have a post-secondary education. I got a high school degree, and I think so. I've got a different view on it, because to me, you can have all the education in the world, but if you don't apply it, it's useless. So I don't care whether you go to a university or college or whether you're self-taught. If you've got no motivation, you don't have common sense, and you don't have a drive, and you're not interested in trying to make the world a better place, it's useless. So I think my answer to that is, I think there's absolutely a place for education and post-secondary, because I think it helps a lot of young people learn to grow up and be responsible and get away from, having mom and dad take care of them. And I think that's a huge part of post-secondary education. But I think some of the things that you actually learn, I do believe that some of the post-secondary institutions, and even the education system in general, even going into elementary school, I think they need to be given the tools so that they're teaching the relevant information. When I was in the video business, too often we would see where schools didn't have the proper funding. So they're teaching them on analog cameras while we're all using digital cameras. And so they come out of school and they don't really know what's going on. And I think you also get a lot of educators that stay in the education system too long and they're not in the real world. And so they don't know the application. So I think there's absolutely a place for AI, but I also think that I've got a 20-year-old daughter that I literally told her if she wanted to, I would pay for her to stay home and learn AI on her own. But in all honesty, I don't know if she'd have the discipline to do that.
And I think part of it, to me, is, what is the purpose of school to begin with, right? That's more of a long theoretical question, because for the longest time, the narrative was, you get a post-secondary education, degree, diploma, whatever that was, and you are close to guaranteed a good career and, all the things that come with it. But I think we're seeing that narrative is no longer applicable. It was applicable maybe, for millennials, maybe early millennials, or maybe Gen X, boomer generation before that. But I think now most, especially Gen Z, they're kind of realizing, hold on a second, that whole thing kind of is breaking down, because I go to school, I come out with debt. Then I go get a job, but that job isn't guaranteed, right? You have to job hop, you have to still have the drive to move up. But even if I do everything correct, those companies can still let me go. At any time, at any place, there's no loyalty, right? The expectation was. But then it goes back to, why did you go to school in the first place? Because I think if you went to school to get a job, like that is, I don't think that's really necessarily the number one thing that you should go to school for. In my opinion, I think now, especially with AI, it's really learning how to learn, because with AI, you're seeing it, people who are eager to learn and to apply, learn and apply, those people are coming out doing very well.
Yeah.
But if you just went to school and kind of just cruise through just to get the job, I think it's a very difficult mindset, very difficult place right now.
Well, and I think school is great to, again, show young people that you need to show up on time. Show that, the teacher's not going to push you. If you don't finish your assignment, you'll get a zero and you can take the course over again and pay more money. And I also think that it teaches you things like how to public speak. So when you have to get up in front of a group of people and actually present, it gives you that confidence. It shows you how to interact with people when you have, group projects. But I also think even things like sports and like athletics and other things is good because it teaches you how to work as a team and how to communicate with people and how to, you know, so I think all those things, that's where I think the benefit is. So I think if somebody stayed in their basement and solely focused on learning I think they would potentially miss out on a lot of those other skill sets like human interaction and human relations where you get that through school or sports or whatever it might be. So I think that's the concern. So I think if you are going to stay in your basement and learn AI, get out and
Go touch
talk to
grass.
people.
Go touch some grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing too is that, technology allows you to do all this stuff, and one thing I like to point out all the time in our meetings is what was the point of you doing a paper? Your point of you doing a paper was not to get the 95% to get the best grades. It's to be able to pull from different sources and to communicate in an effective manner your point of view, which you will have to do to sell, to try to convince somebody else to go with your idea. Like these are the things you have to learn. And if you start using AI to do that, you may not be able to do that. Like you can't email or send documents to somebody who you want to convince to sell.
Yep.
Right? In the end, you have to talk to somebody face to face, whether online or not, to convince them that your service, your idea is the right way to go. And I think those are the things you have to learn. I don't know where you'll learn it. School's an easy place to do it. Other places, but you have to be able to learn those skills.
Well, and I think people need to stay curious, and that's what I think. I don't know. I've got a bit of a taint of. I think most people are lazy, which is what frustrates me because I think that if you stay curious and you're willing to get out there and learn new things and listen to other people's opinions, not get stuck in your own viewpoint, because that's what I see right now in the political world, right? Somebody gets all the left or the right viewpoint, and that's all they see. They're not willing to look at the other side of it, and I think that's something else that you can learn from school. But even education, my 20-year-old daughter, spent 2 months in Europe last year, and she's now spending 2 months in Asia. She's getting a ton of education with having to travel around the world. And again, AI can't teach you that, but I think that, I don't know. But the other side of it, again, if you're just applying because your parents told you to go to school and you don't really know what you want to do and you're just there to get a job, you might be a little bit disappointed at the end of your 4 years because that job might not be there. You're not learning some of these other skills and applying yourself. So I think it's a loaded question, but I don't know. I think that a lazy person is going to be lazy regardless of whether or not you got an open concept office or you got closed offices, like, or whether you're working from home or not.
Well, I think AI, you know how like the original saying is like people who get money, it just exposes them to who they really are even more so on a grander scale. I also think AI exposes that too, because it's like if you were driven, even with AI, now you have a capability that can 10, 20x you. But if
Yeah.
you were lazy and with AI, you're still going to try to do the minimum just now with AI. Like, I don't, it's literally will show what kind of person you are by like what you can do, right? Just
That's a great point because you're going to cut corners. You're not going to check your work. You're going to phone it in, and eventually people are going to see right through that.
Yeah, I think the old saying again yesterday was what is I think Andrea was talking to somebody. He's like, um what do you call someone with a 51% in medical school? Still a doctor. Sorry, still a doctor. It doesn't matter, right? Still a doctor. So I just think that the purpose of school has changed. And I think if you're listening to this, if you are thinking about that question, I think like you have to think about what is your purpose, like why did you go to school to be in the first place, right? And I think that should lead to some other answers of whether you should continue. As one of our clients says, there's always the trades, and as long as there's roads need to be built and sewers need to be built, then go work in the trades because they're always looking for people too, right? That is the one area that's growing from a job perspective.
But again, I still think that it doesn't matter what you're taking, whether you're a welder or a nurse or a school teacher or in for business, you know, learn about the latest technology that's out there and how it applies to your business. I think that that's a critical point, and that's where I think because AI is going to hit every single industry in one way or another in the near future. So to me, whether you're going to college or whether you're staying in your basement or whether you're already just new into the job for, and you're thinking about going back and doing some upgrading, take a look at how AI applies to it. And I think you'll be better off for it.
Learn more about AI training, education, and career paths by watching these videos here. Enjoy today's episode, want to learn how AI can impact your business? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.